It's 6:07, and what does that mean? Let's run, baby. What can be better than 6 a.m. run when everyone's still sleeping? That's only you in the whole world. Let's go. I just finished my first 3K, and when I woke up and I saw this weather, I was thinking, oh, maybe I will start tomorrow. But if you have a real goal, it doesn't matter what weather do you have. In fact, I like working out in this weather because I feel more focused, Hello, my nugget, and welcome to today's video. Today we'll try to create the best exercise program to lose weight. And before we start, let me ruin your day. The exercise that burn your fat don't exist. If someone tells you the opposite, that you can burn belly fat by doing crunches or you have to run in a certain pace, this person either lies to you to get some benefits or he doesn't know what he's talking about. There's not even one movement in the world that can directly burn your fat. But to be precise, at any sort of activity or the exercise, your body uses all possible energy sources in your muscles at the same time. Your glycogen or glucose, triglycerides and amino acids, or carbs, protein and fat. The exercise is some sort of the market of the energy exchange in our body. If you spend some energy, your body will always find a way how to refill this energy, and it doesn't care if it's going to be your fat, amino acids from your muscles, or cake that you ate after your workout. In this video, we're not going to be talking about the diets. However, you've got to understand that the food takes much more important place, especially if you want to lose weight. But we're going to be covering that in the next episodes. Today, we'll be talking about the king of the exercise for people who want to lose weight, Her Majesty, cardio. For now, I have one question for you. Do you ever wonder what's going on with the fat when you're losing the weight? Like, where does it go? A lot of people and even trainers believe that, well, you burn it, but from the law of conservation of mass, we know that the mass or energy can't be created or destroyed, it can only change its forms. So even if you heat that fat, the mass is going to be still there. Right, we know that if we eat a lot of the extra nutrients from the food, we start storing in our body as a fat. That's how we gain weight. But how we actually losing the weight? You'll be very surprised. Or maybe I can do a special video where I explain exactly how we're losing the weight from our fat. Or if you watch this video very carefully, you'll find the answer. But as always, let's start from the basics. A lot of people still believe that if you want to lose weight, you have to do a lot slow stints on cardio. Or another group of the people, let's say when you go on YouTube and you try to find the best workout to burn fat, and for some reason you see a lot of high intense workout, which doesn't make a lot of sense because the intensity is a relative conception. For someone using the stairs instead of the lift, and you already have a high intense workout. And even if you think of the conception of the best exercise to burn fat, how you can understand that you found the right one? Because if that's the best fat burning exercise, that means we're supposed to have the best gaining fat exercise. That means after workout you became a little bit thicker than before. All the exercise can be considered as a fat burning exercise. Doesn't matter if you're lifting weights, running, climbing, swimming, your body needs the energy for that. And actually the second part, how you refill this energy after you work out, either from your food or from your body, will make a difference on how you look. So if any exercise can burn your fat, why there's so many different ones? Why would someone say your heart rate has to be 140 beats per minute when you do cardio? Or another would say, no, to burn fat, the best way is to do interval cardio, CrossFit, Tabata, circuit training. Someone would say, no, to burn fat, you need a hormone production. That's why you have to do heavy squats, deadlift, and bench press. The reason why there's so many different opinions, because everyone is different. If something works for one person, it's not going to work for another one. If you're, let's say, 150 kilo, 40 years old man, so the fast walking on an empty stomach for about 30-40 minutes is the best way to start losing weight, because you probably already have a knee problem and high blood pressure, but it's definitely not going to be enough for experienced athlete. And also you have to consider something called adaptation. That means one exercise program cannot last you forever. That's actually the main problem for those of us who's losing weight for years and years, or try to gain muscles and don't see any result. So let's say you start exercising, and because this stress is new for your body will respond on the stress by building more muscles and start spending extra calories. But very soon your body will adapt. So for the same amount of work, your body starts to spend less and less calories. And you will notice that the barbell is not that heavy anymore, and you can run much longer and it's getting easier. But what do? Do we change our workout plans? Do we start running faster? Do you have a training periodization in your workout plan? Did you go through comprehensive physical training before gym? Do you improve your endurance? Do you have a phase of a strength, phase of a hypertrophy? Do you use physio exercises for the joints? Do you have a rehabilitation period? Do you have a metabolic workouts? Probably not. You're not professional sportsmen. You don't need that stuff. You just exercise. And then you wonder, oh,
I exercised for years and years and still almost nothing. It's probably because my genetic is crap.
Anyway, look, if you're doing the same thing over and over again, how are you going to expect that your body will change? Right, so if we want to create the best exercise program for us, we have to know that we have about 50 factorials in the training program. And if you don't know what this number looks like, it's something like this. So that means the combination of the exercise can be endless amount. So there's no point to look for the best exercise program. And even if you find one, your body will adapt anyway, so you have to create a new one. That's why for me it doesn't really make sense why you buy already created program from the person who doesn't even know you. Remember, the best exercise program is going to be a personal one. There's no rules in creating your exercise program. However, we know some of the basic principles and patterns of creating our exercise program depends on our goals. Look, first of all, I want you to understand what you're doing and why. So forgive me if I take 10 minutes of your precious time and go through biochemistry and physiology. So next time when you're lifting weights or doing cardio, you understand exactly what's going on in your body and how it's going to change your shape. Right, so if we go back to our exercise, we know that we have two different types of the exercise. We have a cardio and we have a weight training. But scientifically, let's call them aerobic and anaerobic exercise. Right, so if this video is all about the cardio, obviously we're going to be talking about aerobic exercise. And after you will know how to run, how fast, how long, and what is the best way to burn your fat. Right, so the reason why we have aerobic and anaerobic exercise, because the majority of our skeletal muscles can be divided in two major groups. If you heard of fast and slow, glycolytic and oxidative, red and white muscles, so it's all the same. So those two different types of the muscles use two completely different types of the fuel. For example, we need a fire or energy. In our case, we need ATP. ATP, adenosine triphosphate, is some sort of the currency of a market energy exchange in our body. Any movement that we do, any transaction of the energy, we eventually break down all glycogen or triglycerides into the ATP molecule. Right, so if we need a fire, we can use the wood, or for example, we can use the gas, right? Two different types of the fuel. If you look at a wood, it's very cheap fuel, can last you very long, but can give you very little power. And instead of the gas, it's very expensive fuel, but can last you very short time, but can give you a lot of energy. And again, if you're talking about the cardio, let's start with the type 1 slow oxidative muscles. Now, the slow one simply means the breakdown rate of ATP is slow and the contraction speed of these muscles is low. And the oxidative portion means they need oxygen to produce the energy. So the pathway of ATP production is aerobic. So they use not only glycolysis but also the Krebs cycle and electron transport chain to produce the energy. And because we need a lot of oxygen to produce the energy, we also have a high amount of myoglobin. The myoglobin is a protein carrier that carries the oxygen into our muscles to create the energy. And because we have a lot of myoglobin, those muscles appear red, so they're also known as the red muscles. Now, because we have a low contraction speed and the breakdown of ATP is slow, we also have a high amount of triglycerides. So the best type of the fuel for these muscles will be our fat, our muscular fat. Remember, we have a fat that already inside of your muscles, not fat from your belly. Now, because we use the fat in aerobic respiration, we also have a high amount of mitochondria. The mitochondria is the manufacturer of energy exchange in our muscles, where the fat needs the oxygen and produce ATP. The same as the fire. We need the wood, we need the oxygen, and we have a spark and we have a fire. Now, because we have a high amount of mitochondria and the fat is our main fuel source, this provides us a low fatigue rate. So that means we can work for hours and hours before we run out of the fuel. So this type of the muscles we use when we walking, when we riding a bike, standing, swimming. Even right now, I'm talking to you, and the main muscles that I use right now is slow oxidative muscles. But what happens if you don't use them? If you don't use it, you lose it, right? So you have very little amount of mitochondria. Again, imagine you have a car and you barely use it, only on the weekend to meet some friends or get some food. Do you need a big amount of horsepower? No. So the same with your body. If you put yourself in a position where you don't need to produce a lot of energy, you have less and less amount of mitochondria. What does that mean? You start using more fast glycolytic muscles and a glycogen. Let's say you get injured or you spent home last couple of months like some of us, and you start doing exercises again. How do you feel? Yes, you feel tired, your heart is beating very fast, you have to recover your breath, or try to do some squats or run a sprint for 100 meters. Or especially for elder people. Let's say your granny using the stairs to go up on a second floor. She has to stop, she has to take her breath. She might feel even dizzy because of the low sugar level in her blood. Because instead of the fat, she used the glycogen. We think that the problem is cardiovascular system, or your cardio system is weak, you have little endurance, but it has nothing to do with your cardio system. You have little amount of mitochondria, so you start using more fast glycolytic muscles, and they use glycogen, more expensive, powerful fuel. And the byproduct of using anaerobic glycolysis is lactate, or also known as lactic acid. When you have a lot of lactate, it also releases a high amount of CO2. So when we use a lot of glycogen, we have a lot of lactate in our muscles and we have a high amount of CO2. Imagine that you hold your breath underwater, and you can hold it much longer when you're motionless compared to when you're moving. Because when you move, again, you use your fast glycolytic muscles, you use glycogen, you produce lactate, you have a CO2. When you go up from water, you feel that your heart is beating very fast, and you try to exhale all the CO2 and remove the concentration, reduce the concentration of the CO2 in your body. And if you do cardio more frequently, you will notice that you can run much longer and it's getting easier. It's not because your cardio system is getting stronger. You have more and more mitochondria, so instead of the fast glycolytic muscles, you start using more slow oxidative muscles and start oxidizing your fat, which is what we want, right? To oxidize our fatty acids. But what happens if you decide to increase the intensity? Let's say you were wandering around your neighborhood and you met a few guys that really want to talk to you. What do? You start increasing your intensity and the volume. You need more power in your muscles, so that's where the type 2A fast oxidative muscles appear. Again, the fast means the contraction speed is fast and the breakdown of ATP is also very high. They have a bigger diameter. If you compare to the small muscles, the reason why they're small because they have a small diameter, and a fast oxidative they're much bigger than the first type, and the nerve signals much stronger, so you can involve more muscle fibers very quickly. But because the fat less powerful, these muscles use the glycogen, more powerful fuel. But if the first type can work for hours, this one can only work about 50-60 seconds before run out of this fuel. And the type 2 fast glycolytic muscles, the most powerful muscles that we have in our body. When we use them when we need to lift super heavy weight or need a maximum volume and speed. These muscles use not only glycogen but also creatine phosphate and the molecule of ATP that is already inside of your muscles. So it's like super powerful rocket fuel. So because these muscles need to release a lot of energy very quickly, the blood cannot supply enough oxygen that fast, so the pathway of ATP production is anaerobic. So they don't need the oxygen to release the energy. And because we don't need the oxygen, we also have very little amount of mitochondria, and we don't have a myoglobin. So these muscles are white. So the fast muscles are white and the slow oxidative muscles are red. Right, so you probably think that these muscles we use only when we are lifting weights, and this one when we're doing slow cardio, and this one when we're sprinting. But it's not really correct. Remember that your body uses all possible energy sources at the same time and all muscle types at the same time, just in a different volume. But how your body actually decides which type of the muscles and which type of the fuel to use at any given time, when to use the glycogen, when to use the fat. Inside of your body you have some sort of transmission or a gearbox like in a car. When you just start movement, you're in a speed 1, and if you need to move faster, you change the speed and the type of fuel. And this gearbox in our body called lactate threshold or aerobic threshold. Right, so let's see what happens when you just start running. When you start movement, you use your oxidative muscles, the muscles that you have the highest amount of mitochondria, so the slow and fast oxidative muscles. And first 10-15 seconds when you start running, and the first 10-15 seconds when you start running, these muscles work on the ATP and the creatine phosphate, the rocket fuel, the most powerful fuel. And after 15 seconds, when you carry on movement, your body realizes that you don't need that much power. You start using your aerobic glycolysis and aerobic lipolysis. So your muscles work on the glycogen and the fat at the same time. And when we have a lipolysis, when your body works on the fat, you have a byproduct which is citrate or citric acid. And when you reach certain concentration of citrate in your muscles, it completely stops all glycolysis, not only in the first type, but everywhere in your body. So the concentration of citrate goes up, and we start using less and less of glycogen and more of the fat. And this concentration of citrate we achieve only after 40-60 seconds. So you don't wait 20 to 40 minutes before start burning your fat. It's already happening after 1 minute of your cardio session. It shows your body that, all right, stop using this expensive fuel. We don't need that power. So instead use cheap, long-lasting fuel, fat. And you can even notice when you just start movement, it's very easy and fun for about a minute, and then you feel less power, you feel tired and you want to stop. But if you carry on, you have to find a certain pace, you breathe deeply, and in that pace, you're working on your fat, so you burn your fat. Not fat from your belly, but from your muscles. But when you increase the intensity or you have very little amount of mitochondria, you're working more on the fast glycolytic muscles, and you use glycogen and glucose from your blood as an energy source. So when you increase the pace, the blood cannot supply enough oxygen to oxidize the fat, and you start using more and more glycogen in your body. And byproduct of using the glycogen is lactate or lactic acid. And when you reach certain concentration of lactate in your body, it completely stops all lipolysis, not only from the slow muscles, but everywhere in your body. And all 3 muscle types using only glucose or glycogen as an energy source to give you much more power, because remember, the fat by 30% less powerful than the glucose. So this is why it's called lactate threshold or aerobic threshold. Remember that when we are under lactate threshold, where our intensity is low, we create more citrate, and the citrate stops glycolysis, so we can use more fat as an energy source. And when we increase the intensity and cross lactate threshold, we produce lactate that stops lipolysis, and we need more powerful fuel, so we only use the glycogen. So this lactate threshold is determined by your intensity, and it's not 140 beats per minute. Remember, the intensity is a relative conception. It's always individual and always changes, depends on the amount of mitochondria that you have in your body. If you don't exercise, you have little amount of mitochondria, so most of the time you use your fast glycolytic muscles and glycogen. And if you train more consistently, your body produces more and more mitochondria, so you start oxidizing more fat. So quick recap, when you start movement, first 10-15 seconds you work on the ATP and creatine phosphate, the most powerful rocket fuel, and then the concentration of ATP goes down after 15 seconds, and we're only working on the glycogen and the fat for about 40-60 seconds. And if you carry on movement, we create more citrate that stops glycolysis, and we use only long-lasting cheap fuel, which is our fat. So when we're on the lactate threshold, we're working on our fat, and if we cross the lactate threshold where we need more volume and increase our intensity, we create this lactate that stops the lipolysis, and we only use glycogen in all muscle groups. But again, this gearbox, this lactate threshold in your body, it's not like the actual gearbox in the car. It's not like, okay, now we're using the fat and now we're using the glycogen. Again, your body uses all three muscle types at any moment at the same time, and all possible energy sources at the same time, just in different concentration. And let's look, for example, at my last cardio session. All right, and if you look at my last run on Wednesday, we can see that, yeah, I've done almost 7K. And if you look at my intensity, we can see that when I just start movement and I work on ATP and creatine phosphate and glycogen, my intensity goes really high for about 1 minute, and then I run out of this type of fuel in my muscles and I work mostly on my fat, on my triglycerides. And when my intensity goes a little bit higher, again, I have a little bit more glycogen in my muscles, then goes down, again, I work on my fat. Then in the middle, I do a little bit of pause, so I stretch out the muscles. And here we can see exactly the same picture when I just start running and I have a creatine phosphate, ATP and glycogen. My intensity goes really high for about 1 minute, and then again I work only on my fat because it's a long-lasting fuel. So again, the intensity goes up and down, the same like as the glycogen and the fat. Right, so why do we need to know all this stuff? Let's say you're doing a low-intense cardio, so you're under lactate threshold and you're working on your fat, and in 1 hour of your cardio session you will burn about 200-300 calories. But 200-300 calories is not a lot, right? Especially if you exercise 2-3 times a week, it will take you about 2 months just to burn 1 pound of fat. But how we can improve this number? Let's say you want to increase your intensity, so you're working on your glycogen now, and this 200 calories from the glycogen you can spend only in 15 minutes. But what is better, to burn our fat or to burn our glycogen? What's the difference between 200 calories from the fat and 200 calories from the glycogen? Well, for our body, it's completely doesn't matter, because inside of our body we have some mechanism that help you to transform one molecule to another one, and this mechanism called glyconeogenesis. Right, so the glyconeogenesis means creating a new molecule of the glucose from non-glycolytic molecule. Remember what I said, that if you spend some calories, your body will find a way how to compensate these calories. And it doesn't care if it's going to be your own fat or the protein from your muscles or cake that you ate after your workout. So when we burn our fat, and the glycogen will be compensating these calories from our subcutaneous fat, literally from your belly fat, back to our muscles. When? After workout session, when you're sleeping or resting, but only if you didn't eat anything. Otherwise, if you eat something during your workout session or straight after, you will produce the insulin that completely stops the lipolysis. So even if we burn more glycogen in our muscles and we're on a keto diet, for example, so we don't have enough glucose in our blood, your body will break down other molecule, non-glycolytic molecule, into the glucose by glyconeogenesis to keep your blood glucose in 100-200 milligrams per 1 liter. And the excess of the glucose, if you need your muscles and you need your liver, the excess of the glucose goes into muscular glycogen and to the liver glycogen. And when, for example, you sleep in, your blood glucose goes down, blood glucose level goes down, and the liver glycogen will break down back into the blood glucose to keep your blood sugar level always stable. So that means it's completely doesn't matter what we use for our energy. Our fat, our glycogen, lactate, citrate, amino acids, eventually your body will break down everything into the glucose to keep your blood sugar level stable, because, for example, your brain only works on the glucose, as well as your nerve system, as well as to compensate your muscular glycogen and the liver glycogen. So if you eat less than you spend, your body will compensate the calories that you spend from your body fat. But wait a minute, that means those guys were right. When you type in on YouTube the best exercises to burn fat, and you see a lot of high intensity workouts, because if we work on our glycogen, we can burn these calories much faster, and we will compensate the glycogen back from our fat anyway, because we have a glyconeogenesis. But you'll be disappointed because high intensity workouts have two unpleasant side effects. So problem number one, when you exercise in anaerobic mode, that means your major energy source is your muscular glycogen and a glucose in your blood that is controlled by your liver, your blood sugar level goes down. And how do you feel when you have a low sugar level? You feel hungry, extremely hungry. So if you don't count every calories that you spend and every calories that you eat, you won't even notice the amount of calories that you eat after you work out. And then you wonder, oh, I'm working out hard, I'm sweating, I eat healthy. Well, surprise, your calories don't care if they're healthy or not. If you eat more than you spend, you'll be fat. So problem number one, you feel extreme hunger. Problem number two, even if you know how much calories you need and you eat exact amount to be in a deficit, so you can use your own fat to compensate the glycogen that you spend, but you not only break down your fat into the glycogen, but also your amino acids. So you literally break down your muscles into the glucose, into sugar. And guess what you will burn faster, your fat or your muscles? Your muscles. So problem number two, we're gonna lose a lot of muscles. So you have two choices. When you do low intense cardio and working on your fat, you don't feel that hunger and you can save much more muscles, but you have to be very patient because you can spend very little amount of calories. Or when you do high intensity workouts, you can spend much more calories, but be prepared to lose a lot of muscles and become shapeless and going crazy about the food. So how do fitness models and actors do? Well, they combine both. They use a lot of different strategies, but the most popular one, in the morning when they're still sleepy, they can work for about an hour in low intense cardio on an empty stomach to burn muscular fat. Then in the afternoon they do a high intensity workout to burn as much calories from the glycogen as possible. Then they feel hungry because of the calorie deficit, and when they sleep they compensate the muscular glycogen and the muscular fat from the subcutaneous fat via glyconeogenesis. And to not breaking down a lot of muscles, they use anabolic androgenic steroids and stimulators like alpha and beta adrenergic receptors. It's not very popular to talk about, but it's just reality, and you can accept it and work with it, or deny everything and keep living in a fancy world. That's why I always say, if you want to be like someone, don't do what this person says and do what he does. But what we simple folks can do about it, if you just want to have a beach body and keep our health, how we can save our muscles and burn our fat? For that reason, we must have a hard weight training. So workout number one is weight training. We need to give our body very good reason to keep our muscles and increase production of hormones that help stimulate our lipolysis, especially on the diet. So for that reason, we're going to use basics, complex exercises like squats, pull-ups and push-ups, and this workout I will show you in the next video. So the benefits of weight training: first of all, we increase our hormone production, and next, by having more muscles, we also increase our basal metabolic rate. So because the muscles are the most metabolic tissue and requires 3 times more calories than the fat tissue. So workout number one is our weight training, the most important workout. And workout number two, we can do a low intense cardio. The benefits: to increase the amount of mitochondria so we can stimulate our lipolysis and glycolysis. So Basically, when we have more mitochondria, we increase our lactate threshold, so we can work in more, using more fat as an energy source. Right, so we have workout number 1, our weight training, workout number 2, our low intense cardio, and we also have workout number 3, because we don't want to work only on the fast glycolytic muscles and the slow oxidative muscles. We want to work on 3 types of the muscles and use all possible energy sources. So we will have glycolytic workout. It's not like the actual high intensity workout, but we're going to work and spend as much glycogen as possible. But I will explain you a little bit more in the next video. The main question right now about the cardio: how long we need to run, how fast, what we can do, what is the best way to keep our muscles, to burn our fat, to increase our intensity and lactate threshold and the amount of mitochondria and avoid adaptation. Well, that's the program I see. It's just brilliant, and it's super easy to do, and it covers everything. Let's say you start running and you run for about 40-60 minutes, and for this time you cover some distance, for example 5 miles. And every next workout you try to increase the distance, so you try to cover more and more distance every time. You can count in meters, in miles, in circles, in laps, in calories, it doesn't matter. But every time you try to cover more and more distance. And that's how you will increase your intensity and lactate threshold, and you also will avoid adaptation, because every time it will be new stress for your body, because you will push a little bit more and more and spend a little bit more calories. And you don't even have to run the whole hour. Let's say you're overweight and it's very hard for you, so you can start fast walking for about an hour, and then you try to run 1 minute, then 9 minutes you resting, then you try to run 2 minutes, then 3 minutes, then 5 minutes, and eventually you will end up by running the whole hour. But remember, don't eat anything straight after workout for about 40-60 minutes to stimulate lipolysis. You can do running in the morning on an empty stomach, but don't eat anything straight after, just have some rest. Or in the night, but the same rule that you don't eat anything and you go to sleep. And when you're sleeping, when you're resting, you will stimulate your lipolysis, so you will compensate the fat that you burn on your cardio session from your belly fat. That's how it works. So this program will last you about 1 to 2 months, and you'll accomplish everything. You improve amount of mitochondria, so you work more on your fat, improve your endurance and lactate threshold, and you also start spending more and more calories. And after a couple of months, when you lose about 5 to 10 kilos, you can start using more interval cardio. And I will show you high intensity workouts, CrossFit, Tabata training, but it's gonna be next time when my body will be ready for that type of work. For now, it's just more than enough for you to start. Remember, don't try to follow the professional athletes program. Most of the time, you not only end up not having results like they do, but you just destroy your health. Remember, what you see in the mirror is a direct response from your body on how you live your life. If you sit at office for about 10 hours a day, and then you drive home, and then you sit on the couch and watch Netflix, you will have a weak and fat body, because it will be perfectly accomplishing the task that you require from it. And if I run every day 5 miles, I lift every day 300 pounds, my body will be exactly that to be able to perform that type of work. So the problem is not your genetic or you have a bad metabolism. The problem is that you have to start doing something. It's simple as that. So stop complaining and let's get to work.
When I run, it's always a new journey for me. It's like going on a date with yourself. The whole world stops and I can hear myself. What happens when you're running? Your pulse is going up, you put yourself in a very uncomfortable situation. Your body thinks that you're dying, it's a dangerous condition, and starts secreting cortisol and adrenaline, and it will do everything to make you stop. And at this moment I can find out who I really am. I feel all my weaknesses and laziness. I feel pain in my muscles, my lungs burning, and at that point I learned something new about myself. about my dreams and plans, about my failings and achievements. I truly believe that in this crazy world we all have to take a pause and have a moment where you can be completely honest with yourself. Define what really matters. And the problem is that nobody wants to wait. We want right here and right now, fast food delivery, instant partner selection, 5-minute home workout. We don't have a time anymore. And I can tell you that 95% of the people are not gonna see this part of the video. Nobody wants a long and complicated video. From the marketing perspective, I do everything wrong. I'd rather make 5-7 minute video with fun and intense exercises and music, short and sweet. But we all know that quickly and efficiently very often are two different conceptions. We don't have a time to read and listen and analyzing, but we have time to watch one season of our favorite series in one day or spend a couple of hours by the phone screen. Nobody wants to put an effort in and wait for months and maybe years before something works out. If something works out, much easier to have something little but secure right here and right now. The statistic shows that on average, every day our brain generates around 5 ideas that could potentially completely change our entire life. But those ideas will stay only ideas and go as fast as they came. And even this 1% of the people who actually decided to try will give up with the first failure and leave after only 3 days of not seeing results. And keep waiting for another great idea that this time will work for sure. So you still think that the problem was your idea or the problem was somewhere else. Imagine that your life is going to be completely different in a year time from now. You'll be a completely different person, but you have to work on it every day. And maybe now you feel motivation and that everything is possible. We have so much time. A year from now feels so long. There is no need to rush. But we always overvalue what we can do in a short time and always underestimating what we can do in the long run. Little tasks, but every day. We always leave the most important decisions of our life for better times. Nobody likes when someone is lying to you. It's probably the worst thing, especially in a relationship, isn't it? And imagine that you have a person in your life that lies to you every single day. How do you imagine this relationship? You've got to be crazy to keep it right. But truth be told, we all have this person in our lives. You just have to look in the mirror. How many times you betrayed yourself and your dreams? How many times you're lying to yourself about who you really are? How many times you broke your own promises, delayed tasks and deadlines? How many times you try to impress people who doesn't give a shit about you? How much they have to pay you to giving up on your dreams? How many times you chose right here and right now and didn't do what you feel is right because you're thinking that it's not gonna work and you just waste your time, your precious time? And how many times you actually wasted your time by choosing right here and right now? Did you learn something from it? Or you keep doing the same shit? No, we'd never confess to ourselves. We're always doing a great job. We're great persons, great workers, great partners. The problem is always somewhere else. How many times you really given your everything to make sure that the work is done? The only one rule that I want to share with you, only one thought. Be always 100%. What does that mean? That means if you do something, give you 100% or don't even try. I hate this word. If you made a decision to start something, don't hesitate and give your 100%. And if something is not working out from the first time, just have a patience and try another way, and another way, and another way until you make it done. Do what you love. It's easy. Honestly, it's the dumbest advice I've ever heard. And instead, try to put more love into what you do. Invest your time, your money, your effort, and you will see the value and you will love it. It literally covers all aspects in our life. Work, relationship, the way you look at things. Respect yourself and your decisions. Be the man of your word. It's simple and it's not complicated, but it's hard. But at the end of the day, you're not what happened to you, you are what you did to yourself. Don't be scared to waste your time and money by doing what you feel it's right, but be scared of waking up one morning when you're 80 years old with a life full of regrets.